Okay, this one is going to be on integral politics and maybe the future of governance. Just a brief breakdown of some of the key elements of integral politics. Ken Wilber, for example, has been working on a 3-book treaty on this called The Three Faces of Terrorism. And I think, there's absolutely beautiful concepts, and I'm going to, inside of that book, and I'm going to bring up some of them. One of the ones that is commonly not accepted within sort of the conspiratorial movement is the notion that we are moving to more of a planetary culture, and I think that's the case. Because when you look at the historical trend, it's an upwards trend of more and more collectives, more and more higher and higher orders of groupings. The difficult element here is that these groupings can become more and more pathological. And obviously it's going to carry forth some pathologies to a higher order collective. The trick is to try to minimize it. And so I do think we are indeed on the precipice of a planetary culture. However, the kind of planetary culture that's being pushed for, this new world order, is in a regime, in a structure, in a system of governance that is highly pathological. A structure in which there has been forced and strategic attempts to maintain an elimination of the interiors and the intersubjective perspectives within our culture. If that makes any sense to you. It's a forced and strategic attempt to not be a conscientious and being with integrity. Because in so doing, you are much more easy to control. If you don't feel like you are your own moral compass, your own moral guiding system, then it's easy to impose moral rules and structures on you because you don't know what you believe in. You don't know yourself, know thyself, as it were. So we are on a precipice of a planetary culture. To me, this is not questioned. It's just the precipice on which we are on is one in which there's a very high likelihood that a new world order with no heart is going to take over. I've spoke in an earlier video about the reptilians, and even if there's no such thing as a reptilian race that is alien, it's metaphorically quite sound. It's a race in which, they are ready to fight you, to kill you with great awareness, but with no heart. That's why we must be heart warriors, as this Tool song says. It's a heart warrior against vampire battle, if you will. So ways to solve this is to find ways that we can bring in commons, alternative economic systems that transcend the sort of merely materialist economic structures that we have right now. Mind shares, if you will, a word coined, I think, at least used by one of my friends, Brian O'Connell, and it's in a sense finding ways to bring economies for those people that are morally sound in their actions. I wrote a screenplay a couple years ago in which politicians were tested for their moral aptitude by sort of like a neuro imaging system, wherein we know roughly the space in our brains where moral reasoning takes place. And if that is not, and if that emotional moral element is missing, then they ought not be leaders. They ought not be the people running the show. It ought to be a person that has indeed a strong cognitive grounding, but simultaneously one that's deeply moral, deeply spiritual. So we're looking to form a planetary culture in which there's deep caring springing outward from these individuals. I think that's all I'll say on this one. Blessings, fam.